Hey guys, welcome back to the Drive Talk podcast. This is episode 25, and today pretty much we mark a year of running. So thanks so much for all of your support. I've got obviously Mr. Petrolped next to me and our wonderful guest for the second time, which we'll talk about in a second, Mr. Tony Lewis. Tony, thank you very much for coming on again.
Legend.
I am so tempted to just blow this apart, but I won't. I'll behave myself. I'll say thank you very much for having me back.
You are the only guest that's been on twice.
Well, there is that. We had a run through, didn't we?
Yeah, in case you missed it, by the way, we recorded just such a good episode just before Christmas, and we had an audio problem, basically a corruption on the file, and we just couldn't put the episode out. And it was gutting because you'd driven all the way to Podium and recorded it.
It was like the worst weather ever.
The weather was bad.
To rush down the motorway to get there, and it was like, afterwards I was buzzing as well. I drove back, thinking, it's really good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was worth my entire day to come up to Podium Place. And but yeah,
there's another anniversary as well today.
Oh,
yeah! Today marks 12 months since we asked Joe to buy some decent headphones, and finally he has.
This is true.
These are Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan uses these.
Joe Rogan specials.
Yeah.
So
I feel more like Mo Farah personally.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Mobot.
Yeah, the Mobot. They're very comfortable.
They are very good. Yeah.
While we're on the subject of locations, Podium Place and stuff, just want to say a massive shout out once again to Tony and Berry BMW, because we're down here at Berry BMW in Heathrow, which is a place that Tony used to basically live at, and I used to spend a lot of time down here because I only lived 10 minutes down the road.
Yep.
Great memories here, lovely showroom, and it's awesome to be here, Tony. And the reason we're here is not just to film this podcast, but it's actually to do our first proper live Drive Talk podcast, which actually happens this evening down in the mini showroom. So I'm extremely excited about that. I'm sure you two are too.
I am, and if you haven't bought a ticket, you won't know what's going to go on this evening because it's only live once. So we will be doing others. Obviously, in the next episode, we'll kind of talk about how tonight goes because I'm sure it's going to be awesome. But the whole idea is we're not recording this evening. We've got a group of 50 people who've bought tickets, sold out, which is really cool.
Yep.
And we look forward to it. We'll be able to kind of go off-piste a bit and not worry about being recorded, Tony.
That still worries me.
I'm staying out of it. There's so many things going through my brain about what I can't say at the moment, but I know I'm going to say tonight.
Just don't mix them up.
So, no, absolutely. Thank you.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I did a I Love You Man at the end of 22, I think, at Cafe and Machine. And if you do one of those, the audience isn't allowed to record anything. So you can take pictures. So there you do feel really safe. But obviously in our lives, we're not going to stop our audience posting and taking little videos. So it'll be really interesting. I'm looking forward to it. And also have to say a massive shout out, as always, to our headline sponsors, Michelin. We're all sort of...
We've been shopping, do you think?
Well, we might, yeah. I'm not sure how much of that's in the shop, but it does look like it a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we got some giveaways for this evening.
Yep.
Which is quite cool. Yeah, no, we've been merched up. I got a nice bundle full of stuff. A big box arrived at the house with all kinds of things in there, hoodies and T-shirts and stickers and bibendums.
We've got some nice old school posters here, or prints, stickers, and actually some caps and stickers that we're giving away tonight in the live. But yeah, big shout out to Michelin for sponsoring the podcast again this year. And a quick shout out to, I'm going to get this wrong, it's not Adventure. L'Aventure. There we go.
There you go. Oh, look, that was pretty good.
My auntie's French, so occasionally. We'll put a link to them below because essentially when Patrick and I went out to the museum a couple of years ago now, there's a really cool merch shop there. And that's essentially what it is. It's everything that's in that shop that you can buy, and it's all reasonably priced as well. Yeah. So put a link to them below, check them out, and get yourself some Michelin merchandise. I guess we should start with what we've all been up to lately, because I know we've all been busy. Let's go with you first, Tony Lewis, as our guest.
I reckon he's been buying cars.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
More than... Has he been buying more cars than he's been selling?
Well,
Hopefully not.
Tony, to be honest, that's always a tricky one, to be honest.
There is a balancing act to be done for sure. I have to be fair.
But last time you did this, you were just about to get a new car.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I picked up. I got a new M2 just before Christmas, which is when I saw you look guys last, wasn't it? Which just fall in love with. I mean, honestly, I should know better than to doubt the product, but yeah, I've been with BMW 20 odd years, and you do get a bit blasé about new products. And I thought, the M2, everyone sort of slated it at first, and it was this and it was that. But I actually like the look of it, and I thought I'll put my money where my mouth is. So yeah, I picked up a new M2 just before Christmas, but I've still got that. But I've also now got the M3 CS.
What?
I've been a busy boy.
An M3 CS.
Yeah, got an M3 CS now. So that's I'm keeping the M2. But the Alpine's got to go. The Alpine A110 is.
Oh wait, so you've got the Alpine as well?
There's a slight overlap.
And what about the Emira?
Slight miscalculation. But to be fair, the Emira I'm custodian of.
Okay.
That's actually shared with my boss. So
you've got a two-door sports car.
Yeah.
A two-door sports car. A two-door sports car.
Yeah.
And a hardcore four-door sports car.
Yeah, with seats that no one can get in and out of.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's at least you mix the
special.
alphabet.
It is special.
It's very special. I think anyone, the M3 CS, it's always the way though, isn't it? With CS products, especially CSL and stuff, or GTS, you expect that. You can see it in the price. You know that it's special. But the CS cars, sometimes you'll see it and you'll be like, oh well, yeah, they just put a little bit of special interior and they put some unique wheels on it. But there's so many small changes that add up to so much in the car. And I think when you drive a regular M3 competition, again, not that, I mean, they are incredible, but when you drive one of them against the CS, you appreciate everything straight away.
Absolutely. I mean, I've come straight out of the M3 Touring as my company car, which is obviously, that's gone back now. So that's...
I need a John BMW.
So that's up for sale. But coming straight out of that into the CS, I think I noticed it more than probably I would have. And it is literally, the whole thing is just up on its toes more. It's just instantaneous. The mapping of the engine is better.
Yeah.
There's no lag whatsoever. It is literally like you think you want to go and it goes.
Yep.
But the most surprising bit, I suppose, is you can tell the money's been spent on the suspension, because where I live, going over speed humps and going into town and everything, the ride quality is actually better than the old M3 Touring was. So it's just like, you expect the opposite, of course you do, but it's not the case. You can tell the money's been spent on it. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. Just running it in at the minute, whilst running in the M2.
First world problems.
First world problems, mate.
I know it sounds terrible, but yeah, busy selling. It's March. We're obviously very busy this month. We were very busy in February. But yeah, business is really good. The M2 is selling extraordinarily well at the moment. It's finally found its place in the market. I think the APR is a little bit better, and that's just pushed the car on now. So yeah, that's good for us. So that's what I'm up to.
Nice.
That's me.
Cool. And Ped?
I went to Finland. I'm trying to think what I've done since I last saw you. I went to Finland with Nissan. That was really cool. Although it wasn't really cool because it was actually quite warm.
Yes.
It was only like 1 or 2 degrees below.
Yep.
And when you're driving on an ice lake and the lake's defrosting and you can actually see puddles of water on the lake, it's really disconcerting. But it's always amazing to go out into Finland anyway. It's a great country, and that was a really good trip. And I ended up going in the lake.
Oh yeah, I saw on your stories.
Yeah. So we did a sauna on the last night. We did a sauna, hot smoke sauna, and then walked down this kind of path, down some steps, and they'd cut a big hole in the ice. And I went into the water, and it was very cold.
Yeah. Was it? Did it just disappear?
It was, yeah. Well, the funny thing, so there's a funny story. I'm sure I can tell this. If not, we'll cut it out. So
Patrick's already gone up a few tones of red.
When we were doing the sauna thing, a couple of the guys from Germany have gone, I'm not going to try and murder a German accent, but do you wear anything in the sauna? Because in Germany, you go in the sauna naked, even if it's a mixed sauna. And we're like, well, yes, normally in Finland, but I think because we're on a trip and there's a mix of people, I think we'll probably wear swimsuits. So anyway, so we went all en masse into this sauna on the last night, and the German was in there completely naked, right?
Brilliant.
As you do.
Yeah.
And then we went down to jump in the lake, and we had a guy hold our hand as we went down the steps because it was so cold. If you jumped in, there was a danger that you would actually die. You'd have a heart attack.
Wow.
Because it was that to go from hot to so cold.
Yeah.
So you had to have your hand held as you went down, and you had to go in really, really slowly. So he's got this whole audience of people watching him, right? He's there absolutely starkers. And he's going in really quickly, and the guy goes, no, slow down. And he went, no, I'm going in really fast because I'm not wearing anything. And then we're all stood there going, I wonder what it's going to look like when he comes out. Yeah. So yeah, just one.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that was the highlight.
No, Finland was good. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Nice.
How about you? You just got back from the States, right?
Yeah, I've just literally this week got back from Vegas. 6 days in Vegas with BF Goodrich.
Did you wake up with a chicken in your room?
I didn't, but I can see how things go downhill quite quickly out there. I've never been to Vegas. It's one of those places, I think, well, you and I especially, Ped, we're very fortunate that we get to go on some really cool trips. And sometimes countries or places we'll visit that we wouldn't necessarily go to out of our own pocket.
Yeah.
But Vegas has always been, obviously, it's been like, oh, you watch The Hangover and stuff. You're like, oh, I would like to go out there, but I'm not going to spend, $3,000 to go out for a holiday. And it was great, but I can't even begin to tell you how expensive it was. Once again, it was a BFG trip, so I didn't necessarily have to worry about expenses in that sense. But on my last night, I just fancied a chilled one. The event had sort of finished, and I had one more day there. And so I was staying in the hotel room, and I thought, you know what, I was exhausted. The jet lag was still kicking in 5-6 days later. It's 8 hours difference, so it's really killer, like Australia. And I thought I'll just go up to the room, I'll get some room service and just chill and whatever. Anyway, so it was the first time I looked at the room service menu, and I got it was like a Thai starter and a Thai main, but there were small dishes. They weren't particularly big. And the starter was about $15 and the main was about $25 or whatever, which is fine. But once you added sales tax and this tax and that tax, and then the 22.5% service fee, the delivery fee because it was getting delivered from somewhere, it became $68, which was 60 odd quid just for a basic starter and a main. And that just kind of sums up, everything is just so expensive.
That's because you have to win all your money in the casino first.
Yes.
And then you spend it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think people out there that are high rollers, they don't need to worry about that. So I'm glad that I wasn't paying for things. But as a trip, it was awesome. I was out there for the Mint 400 race, which I hadn't heard of until about this time last year when I knew some people that had been out there with BFG. And it's just nuts. It's a race in the desert. It's 400 miles off-road. But when I say off-road, like raw off-road, we're not talking about like little gravel paths. I'm talking about like through rock formations, and a bit like, I wouldn't say too dissimilar to something like Dakar, but almost more hardcore because the massive rocks and everything's hard. It's not soft sand in most cases. And the fastest trucks were the unlimited trophy trucks, right? So we've all probably seen trophy trucks.
Yeah.
But these things are just on another level. So, for instance, how much do you think a good top spec trophy truck would cost to build?
Oh, if it's full race spec, a lot, I would guess. We've got to guess in dollars.
Yeah, dollars.
A couple $100,000.
Tony?
Yeah, I was actually going to say £250,000, so $300,000.
So yeah. I mean, $300,000 is close to what you'd pay to get it serviced after the Mint 400 if you hadn't had an accident.
What?
They're about $1.3 million, right? But like a yacht, and I can only describe it as a luxury yacht in the sense that we all know luxury yachts. It's one thing buying one, another thing running it. Yeah. It's the same. After each race, every component, all the diffs, the engine, everything has to be completely stripped down. And if you're lucky, it's about $100,000. But most services are about $150,000 to $200,000 just to get it serviced, and that's before or if you have an accident and break something. So it's a very expensive sport, let's say. But when you see them in full flight going over, we went up in a chopper and we followed a few across ground that you just wouldn't. You'd struggle to run down these sections of road, and they're just floating over it beautifully.
Their axle articulation and is unreal.
Unreal. Some of them had 36 inches of rear travel and about 30 inches of rear travel on the front. And of course, the other main aspect that I should talk about is the actual tyres. And I'm not just saying that because we're on a Michelin podcast and I was there with BFG, but all the top runners, the top 10 or 15 qualifiers were all on BFG tyres. And the winners of both classes were on BFG tyres, because the tyre is obviously the main, as it is on the road with tyre, that we talk about all the time. But on that, it's like, it's not only the fact that it can deal with 1,200 horsepower going through the rear axle on its own in some cases, but it's also the fact that it can smash through boulders the size of this table that are sharp and just literally deal with it and get to the end. Obviously, if you get a puncture, you can repair it, but it knocks a few minutes off your race. So yeah, it was amazing. It was a real spectacle.
Wow.
And
it looked like a cool trip.
It was cool. It was very outside of not my comfort zone. It was something completely new to me. But I really enjoy that, just going on a new place and a new sport. So that was really cool. In terms of something else, cars, my M3, I've now got an M3 Touring, which I had before.
Oh, nano! You got the new nano
New
paint.
nano paint tech. Yeah.
Got it nano painted. So it's British Racing Green now, individual colour, which is great. It was a Tony Lewis customer that had cancelled at the end of last year, and so we traded in the grey one for that. And my M2 is back on the road, which does feel fantastic. It's really, I've got obviously a very that car's got a lot of meaning to me, so I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
How is it now with the auto box that you've had fitted?
It's no, you know what, it is nerve-wracking. I've got a track day in 2 weeks' time, and I'm really looking forward to it, but I'm also really nervous. And people like Ash Horton, and there's loads of people going to that, and I'm like, Joe, at least for the morning, just take it easy and don't start chasing people. Like just don't turn up in your racing shoes like Ped has today, and just take it nice and easy. So yeah, it's cool.
Have you got to run it in? Or?
Yes, so I've done a run in. So I actually got it back a couple of weeks ago. Did about 250-mile run in. They just wanted to make sure everything was fine, put new filters in, flush it all through. And it's honest. I'm not just saying it. Swift Performance absolutely killed it, and the car's so nice. We've done lots of nice little touches to it that I've wanted to do for a long time now. So the car is close to perfect, and it runs so well. It feels so strong and so fast.
Cool.
So yeah, now it's just down to me to get the shifting right.
First, second, third, fourth, third, second.
He'll be running around in first gear for the fear of changing. We just hear it like the rev limiter.
Yeah, I just can't get it wrong again, can I? And the thing is, if I did get it wrong again, I couldn't make a video about it because people would just be like, that's just clickbait. Nobody could do that twice. Like, so yeah, it's lovely having that back, and onwards and upwards,
forwards.
Oh dear, we'll just keep it in one piece this time, mate.
Yeah, well, that's the aim. That's the aim. Tony, let's get on to our guest and talk. There's so much to learn about you. I've known you for many years now. I've known you since. I didn't know you back then, but you were always on Baby BMW, and I knew of the TRL deals before I knew of the real Tony Lewis. You've built yourself an amazing reputation in the UK, at least, but even more so, I get people, especially in Australia, people going, "Oh, I wish we had a Tony Lewis out here," or "Could Tony Lewis?" I'm not trying to give you too much. Be
careful what you wish for.
And that's why that's why we've all got the wide headphones, so your head can expand. Yeah. But yeah, I think your Instagram, your sales, the people, your customers. They do the talking really, and the fact that you're so renowned for what you do. But it's not like you started doing this like a couple of years ago. You've been a car salesman pretty much your whole life.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it would be nice to talk to you, as we did a while ago, a bit about the past, where it all started, and what it was like back then compared to now. Because the reason I said and bigged you up so much was I've been into other dealerships, not wanting to cheat on you, but just wandering in, and I've dealt with some people that I just can't believe are working for whoever they're working for, because they've got no product knowledge. They don't even know what the car is that's in front of their desk that's probably been there for 4 weeks. And it frustrates me as a car person when you go in somewhere and the person knows not even half as much as you about their own product. You're very different. And I think there's a reason for that, is the fact that you are old school and you do love your cars. So let's go back to the Tony Lewis back in the day.
Okay, yeah. I mean, firstly, I just want to say I am an introvert by nature, so this is really alien for me. And I have to, my whole career, I've had to literally put a show on, like going into work and selling cars and being on stage, if you like, talking to people. It's not natural for me, because as an introvert, I'm very much an insular person, internal dialogue, don't socialise, etc. So it is, I don't want to say pretense, but it is, I have to put an act on. So I've sort of learned that over the years of how to develop that through a lot of training and everything. But going back to the start of it all, I suppose I was a youngster with a bit of money. My dad had sort of decided to give up doing what he was doing, which was a big warehouse in South London, selling clothing to traders. I got into that, and I carried on running that for a few years, but then we hit, a massive recession in like 92, and it just sort of all went P-tong really. So that all went away. But I'd loved cars. At that age, I bought a brand new Ford Orion RS16i gear.
I still like them.
And I put a full RS turbo body kit on it with the red piping around the bumpers, and it had the spoiler, because it had the boot, it had the lovely spoiler on the back. I loved it. 88 on an F-Reg it was. Might have been 89, 88. Yeah. So anyway, a few years, I had a few cars, into cars, lost the business, didn't know where to go, couldn't find myself. And I thought, I like selling cars. I ended up at a Vauxhall dealership. Ironically, the Vauxhall dealership was Marne Banstead. And 2-3 months ago, my boss bought the Banstead site. So I've gone full circle. It's really bizarre.
Wow.
So anyway, so I started out at Vauxhall selling cars, got taught by a chap called Steve Williams, really lovely guy, still a friend today. And he basically taught me everything about selling and put me on the track to it. And then I went through the Vauxhall College, because back then there was a Vauxhall College at Luton which trained people how to sell cars. So I went through all that, started selling cars, moved on through the ranks, went to sort of Volkswagen. I was at Mitsubishi for a little bit, went through the houses, ended up finally at somewhere nice like Mercedes at Tooting. And I did a few years there, had a bit more training, and then got into sales management, because Mercedes Retail took over all the London sites, and suddenly we needed a sales manager at our Woking site, so Mercedes Woking. I ended up there as a sales manager, first job. Chap Neil Hooper gave me a pat on the back, said, "It's all yours, crack on with it," and set me off. Him and Lisa, God bless them, they're lovely people, and they set me off onto management, and that was it, and I was away. And I was a sales manager for a good few years, training guys. I love the training side of things, trying to teach people how to sell cars the right way. So I went through all of that, ended up at Porsche West London for a couple of years in 2005, 2006 as a used car manager, and that was brilliant. Loved the brand, real cottage industry back then. The Cayman had only just come out. We were selling Cayennes in West London, like just hundreds of them. Like people were just banging on the doors to buy the Cayenne. Which wasn't the case all around the country. So I think we were the top Cayenne dealer down there. So it was great. Yeah, so I was there.
And then off-roading ability in London, right?
Chelsea tractors.
Yeah. And then from there I ended up at BMW. That was 2007. So basically I came to BMW in Croydon, which was gone from L&C to being Cooper BMW. And I was sales manager. I was a salesman first, then I was sales manager there. And basically worked my way through that, and I've stayed with the brand, from 2007 to today. I've stayed with the brand because I actually love the brand. I really do. It's just
No, really?
Yeah. What do you think?
I've never seen you in anything but BMW.
I know.
It's like seeing Ped in a normal pair of trainers.
I go home and say to my wife, I'm getting changed. I get changed into another BMW t-shirt, and she just looks at me and goes, "You're so sad." But yeah, so that's it. So I'm now with BMW, and as time went on, I sort of drifted away a bit from sales management and got lost a little bit of the desire to do it. I'd worked at a few sites. I'd been at Tunbridge Wells, which I think is where you first probably bumped into my stuff that I was doing with BMW. I was putting See It Now videos up and stuff, and telling people about what a thing is. There was a lot of problem with salespeople not explaining exactly what each item was. So I did little videos on this is how this works, this is what this does, and just put them out there. We got talking. I ended up coming to work for Berry.
Yes.
And you went, I live near Bury Heathrow. And I think that was probably 2016 was about the time we bumped into each other proper here, and we started our sort of friendship and relationship with cars. And and what we've done since. And after a few years of being a manager with that, I was doing this online stuff where I was, as well as being a manager at night, I would be online for 2 or 3 hours on baby BMW and on piston heads and that, and always under my sort of initials, TRL. And I was just pushing out there that we can sell cars, we do this. And suddenly it sort of got a bit of traction, and I was getting loads and loads of customers just coming to me and asking about buying cars through this online thing. So I was up till 10, 11 o'clock every night taking inquiries, and then next day giving them out to the sales team here. And we were just selling cars. It was just like shelling peas. And then after a little while, I sort of said to our boss, Wayne Berry, would you mind if I just do this on my own? And he went, no, how do you mean? I said, well, if I just have a laptop, just work anywhere, work out of any office, just virtual. So we got a package together, and he said, let's give it a go for a year. And we're 6 years in, we just haven't looked back. We've just grown every year. It's just got better and better. My customers from 6 to 7 years ago are now on their third car through me. Regularly, I have to say a lot of my business is just customers coming back because they just don't want to go through the sales process in the showroom and experience what you were saying. With me, it's very black and white. I just say, look, this is what I can do. This is the car. That's the price. There's no haggling. It's just, that's the deal. And then we go a little bit further because we do things like detailing. We have very special handover bays with proper lighting. You'll never pick a car up outside in the rain from us online. And I just wanted to give an experience that they weren't getting from what I could see in the showroom. And car enthusiasts are very different.
Yep.
Your average customer coming in they're just excited about the car, but a car enthusiast wants to know that everything's just right. So we just do all that, and then we got involved through you for introducing me to Motec. We started talking to Motec, and we talked to AC Schnitzer, and we started working with those guys. And it's just now we're offering different packages. We've got obviously BMW M Performance parts, which are all available, and we just make sure everything's done to the car before it goes out. PPF, if the car wants PPF treatment, all of that's taken care of. So the customer literally just comes in and knows everything's done, drives away. Whereas normally you pick the car up, you go to Motec, you fit the bits, then you go to a detailing bay and have the PPF done, and it's just like, duh, duh, duh. So we've just taken all of that out of the equation. We've even now got Berry Transport. We've got 5 or 6 transporters, covered trailers as well, which we can deliver most cars to various parts of the country if people don't want to come down.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you're not just limited to, when you used to work here, Heathrow area, or now you're in Croydon, you've got people coming down from Scotland to pick up your cars.
More
all over.
Yeah, Scotland, Wales, a few from Cornwall.
Power of the internet, right?
It is.
Oh, it's amazing, yeah.
But it's great. I remember years ago, my ex, we bought a Boxster from a Porsche dealership. I think it was Porsche Glasgow or something. Actually, it's great because we flew up there and we got to enjoy the new car on the way home.
Yeah.
And I think that's all, must be what your customers get. There's nothing more exciting in car collection day. Obviously having children and dogs if you're listening, aside. But yeah, it's a great, it's one of those things. But I think some of your customers, one of them I met a few months ago, I think back end of last year, sure, wasn't it 15 cars or something he's had off you? I forgot his name.
There are a couple like that.
There's a car.
Yeah. They just changed. They changed the car more than me. Let's say something. Yeah. But yeah, it's like with the sort of distance thing. I think it's you're dead right. It's like if you buy a brand new car that's a performance car.
Yeah.
You buy it from a dealership. You drive it 3 miles, put it on your drive, and then that's it. And you kind of don't do anything. At least with us, we give an adventure. Some of the guys who do want to collect, we put them up in a local hotel, which is all paid for the night. So they drive down one day, come and stay at the hotel. Next morning they'll come and pick the car up and drive back refreshed, and they've done maybe 400 or 500 miles. Cars pretty much run in by the time they get home. So yeah, it works. It really has worked. And touch wood, it's just getting busier and busier and busier as the years go on. So there's 2 of us doing it. It's myself and Charlie, BMA Deals Direct, who's on Instagram, as you guys know. We work together in an office, and we literally just sit there all day long, getting cars ready, handing them over, replying to all the emails. And we do everything from start to finish. So we have complete access to the BMW system. So we basically take the inquiry, we do the finance quote ourselves. Once we've secured the sale, we then send them the deposit link, we clear the finance, we prepare the finance paperwork, we then order the car ourselves. We don't have an administrator dealing with it. So there's nobody in between that's going to bugger it up, shall we say, or possibly get something wrong. It's all on our shoulders. So we literally do all of that. We know exactly what build week we're going to get them. There's no sort of, we'll take a deposit and worry about whether or not we have a build slot. We only sell what we know we can get. And that's what we've been doing, and the customers appreciate that. And of course, the sales process itself is very simple. We're taking out the haggling. we do offer all the insurance products that every dealer does, and if you want them, you want them, and if you don't, you don't. But you're only dealing with us from start to finish. There's no other third parties involved.
Yeah.
And then we do our own handovers. So when the customers come and collect, they know it's going to be us in the handover bay, and they just come and they just love the way the car's prepared, and it looks great, and it's exciting, and we film it or put it on Instagram. And a lot of people do like that. They like to see the fact that they're on Instagram afterwards collecting their car. That's what we've made our page, really. That's all it is. It's not about selling cars. It's about showing people collecting cars.
Yeah.
And all the options and colours. But it has... Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, so if you do that with such success and get such great customer feedback and people come back and buy more and more cars, why is it that so many dealers get it wrong? That whole... you either walk into a dealership and get ignored, or they don't really, like Joe was saying, really understand the product, or the worst one I've had, you go in with your other half and the cars, I went into, Tracy was buying a Land Rover, the car was for her, and the dealer just pretty much ignored her and just spoke to me.
Yeah, I knew he was going to say that.
I'm like, really? And I said, look, I think, mate, you need to start talking to my wife because it's her car. And the very first question he said was, oh, what colour would you like it? It's like, come on.
No.
But what? So I'd love to know
cliche,
that as an outsider, I'm a car guy, obviously, but I've never been in car sales. But there is a reputational thing, I think, and I think some brands are tainted by it more than others. But you go into a car dealership and you just think that you're going to basically get done over.
Yeah, that's pulled down.
You're going to get not a great deal. You're going to be sold stuff you don't want. You're going to be forced to take finance. All of these things. How do you view?
Do you know what? It's not that I'm going to sit on the fence with this, but you do have to see both sides of the story. That a dealership, by its very nature, so I'd take our Croydon showroom, 22 car showroom. The overheads for that business are over £1 million a year. So it costs over £1 million to put the staff in there, pay all the bills, pay all the rents, pay all the rates, switch the lights on. So you've got to make money. Now, you could do what I do and have everyone doing what I do, but you'd make not enough money for the business to survive. So I want to clear that myth first of all. It's not just that anyone can do the deals we're doing. We choose to sell the cars we sell. We don't sell every model. We don't encroach on certain cars that we know are rare and can't get hold of. We only sell performance cars that we know we can get hold of and do a good deal on. But what you're saying is effectively is true that over the years it's got a lot worse. I mean, when I started in the 90s going through to 2000, I would say there was some of the best sales team out there that really were passionate about what they did. They had the right training, and we treated our businesses like they were hotels. That's what we wanted to do. Is just like you walk in and it's like the concierge of a hotel. You get greeted. There's somebody waiting for you at the door. At one point we had plate recognition, and we knew the customer's name as they drove in. We had a list of everyone that was coming. We would greet them by name, which just made them feel more comfortable. They'd come in if they were coming for a service, drop their car off. Cars would be ready, clean, done. Everything was simple. In sales, the guys all knew their product. They were great at selling cars. They understood customers do need to be sold to, but they also listened and made sure we sold the right product so that we weren't mis-selling.
Yeah.
So all of that was great in sort of the 90s and 2000s, and there was a lot of training. It was before COVID, and there were proper training colleges. BMW got one of the best academies you could probably go to, but since COVID, Wakefield Park. So, we had some amazing training there, and you really do grow and develop, and you feel passionate about the brand. They have a brand day where you go down there, and if you're new to the brand, you're just brought into this, and you just sold the dream about what BMW is, and you come away feeling part of something really special. And that sort of started to drift away from COVID, and also the sales teams. The good salespeople became sales managers. Quite rightly, you want to move up through the ranks. It's a natural progression. Then from a sales manager, become the head of business. From our point of view, salespeople that were coming in being replaced were not the same quality. For whatever reason, we weren't able to get the same caliber of people, and it might just be the next generation of people. The way people grow up. I look at my kids; they're a different breed. They're not naturally common-sensed people that understand the sort of passion. They don't get the passion. They're really not into cars these days, and you really do need to be into cars if you're going to sell cars. You can't kid a kidder. And I think the training's not there to make them good. I mean, I always said I could make anybody into a good salesperson, but the reality is you do need to have a certain amount of common sense and skills and a bit of intellect to be able to be successful in this. And that's
no good.
Yeah, it's just drifted away from. It's really hard. I mean, it's terrible what I'm saying, because there's a load of salespeople sitting downstairs who are probably going to hang me when I walk out of here. So I'm not talking about individuals. I'm just saying,
in general.
In general, across all the brands.
To be honest, mate, I don't think it's just the car industry. Service industry in general, I think, have just struggled for people.
You used to have to cut your teeth. You know, when I started, I wouldn't have got a job selling my first BMW. You were told, no, go and work for Ford or Vauxhall, Renault, do your 4 or 5 years, do your time, come back and apply then, and we'll teach you how to sell BMWs. And that was how it was. You know, you worked your way up through the brands. I went to Mercedes, I went to Porsche, I went to BMW. But you don't come in at that level. But now you do come in at that level, because we're struggling to fill spaces. So we're, okay, we'll take them, we'll give them a chance. We just throw them out there with a minimum of training, and you know they're not getting the support they need. You know, when I was trained as a salesperson at the start, we were taught about we laughed about it. We talked about it before, about the color wheel. You know, how people have personality styles, and if you're going to sell a car, the first thing you need to do is build rapport with your customer, so that your customer feels you're on the same page as them, and they'll feel more comfortable with you. And the way you do that is, within 30 seconds of talking to a customer, you're taught to work out which colour they are in this colour wheel, red, blue, green or yellow, what pace they work at, whether they're fast-paced or slow-paced. Are they visual? Do they look at things visually, or are they auditory like me? And, you know, sorry, I'm visual, not auditory. If they're auditory, they could listen to you, but they can't visualise stuff. If they're visual, they need to visualise it, and you need to show them stuff. So you get to all of this stuff. And when your customer comes in, you work out where they are in this colour wheel, and then you replicate how they are. So you try and mimic your customer, so you talk to them on the same level, and then they feel much more comfortable and they open up to you, and you get more honest answers. And then it's about just presenting the product, asking the right questions, and then you come to the offer. And that's what we were taught as salespeople. What happens now, I think, is people aren't really taught this. They think they know how to sell cars. The customers come in, they talk to the customers. They go, right, what they want. Oh, they want a 1 Series. Right, that's it. I've got a 1 Series in the showroom. And they don't focus on the customer or what they are. They focus on the car and the products that they can attach to it, which increases their income, because these guys don't get paid a fortune. No. You know, their basic salaries are pretty poor. It's all about commission, and it's all about product sales. And they have targets that they have to achieve, or they're out the door. They have to make so many See It Now videos a week. They have to make sure they've got the right ratio of customers. So for every 10 customers, you should do at least 5 test drives. If you do 5 test drives, you'll probably sell 2 to 3 cars. That's the national statistics across the board. So if you're not talking to 10 people a week, you'll never sell 2 cars. That's how it works. And that's what we were taught. And I think all of that sort of drifted away a little bit for no real reason. I can't, you know, other than the caliber of people and the training that we used to get, it isn't the same anymore. And I realised that, and that's why I kind of wanted to pull away from it. And I could see the pain some customers are in the showroom when they're buying a car, with, you know, constantly different managers coming out, doing a presentation and going away, and all they want to do is buy a car, you know.
I guess the internet, though, if you think, I remember when Tesla started coming, because there's literally a Tesla place just across the way. I went, filmed there. Yeah, exactly. Joe was in there earlier. I saw him looking at
that one's not burnt down yet.
No, exactly. But I actually filmed there. I'd only been doing YouTube about a year, and I filmed across there before I even knew you. But when they started, you buy a Tesla online.
Yep.
You don't physically talk to anyone. You literally order it, click a button, and it's like buying buying something off of Amazon. And I remember thinking,
red shoes.
Red shoes, yeah. They were. Shut up.
They must be. They're special orders,
they are,
aren't they?
No, these look. These are good. These are cool.
Oh,
They've got Pumas on them. Look. Right. Can I get back to being?
Sorry.
Stop being mean to me.
No.
I was saying. So, but when they started that, I remember lots of people going, "You'd never buy a car on the internet. You know, you need to go in and talk to someone." Now you look at the number of brands. Lotus are very similar. You pretty much buy a car, and the brand or the dealership really isn't part of the sales process. You're buying the car directly from Lotus, and they just do the handover. So I think technology's probably changed a bit, and you know, the online configurators. You know, back in the day, if you wanted to configure a car, you came into the dealership and sat down with someone, and they configured it. Now you do it at home on your own website. Get confused to hell. I need to talk to you about. You are like a configurator ninja, you two. Right? Whenever I go on a configurator for a car, especially, it's like, well, if I want that, but that comes with that pack, and that pack includes this, this, and this, and if you get that comes with that pack, but you don't need that pack because that pack's got, and it's like, oh, stop, I'm lost now.
I think it's more confusing now. I think going off BMW especially, I think the Prime was 10 years, sort of 8 years ago, 9 years ago. They had a really nice, it was quite basic. If we'd seen it today, you'd look at it and go, oh, it looks a little bit Atari 64. But it was really, everything was clean and understandable. Now, and I'm not just saying BMW, I think because of WLTP testing, which kicked off, 3-4 years ago, they then had to package everything, right? To get the costs down of testing. So that made things confusing. And none of the manufacturers put their hands up and said, look, to make your car more affordable to you and to us, we've had to package things. They just said, to make it simpler for the customer, we've put everything into a package. That's not the truth. It was all WLTP. Yeah. But and then, as you say, but then it's really confusing because you want something, but you can't have it, but then you can have it if you have that package, but then you can't have that package with that color leather, and it gets really, really, really confusing, doesn't it? And there's no right or rhyme or reason. Is that the right?
I mean, I quite like, I know, someone like a Hyundai or Kia, they've got like, I know, 2 or 3 trim levels, and you choose the color, and that's it. There's no kind of customization at all.
I think that's why we're always going to need a showroom for that reason. We're always going to need. There's people out there that are not into their product or technical enough, and they just need to come in and see, feel, and touch. They're tactile. They want to come in and see it and drive it. The showrooms are going to have to exist for that reason. I think that's why the risk a little bit with this agency sale model that's going on, where the manufacturers are taking back the dealerships sort of from the point of view of the profit and the margin and everything else. That's all great, but the danger of that is that you end up with staff that are perhaps just paid a salary. And in my experience, salespeople that are salaried, they don't want to work. They want to earn their money, but they do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And the thing with a commission package is it actually makes people hungry and want to succeed. The danger of that, of course, is you get people that are greedy and then they sell cars for the sake of their own benefit and not actually because they're doing a good job. So there's this bit in the middle. You don't want it all like this, but you don't want it all like that, and you've got to find that middle ground, the Goldilocks bit. It's really, really tough. It is a tough one. I don't know where it's going to go. The future is going to be electric, and maybe they'll only be like with mini, like trim levels. You've got Mini 1, Mini 2, Mini 3 pack, and you just go. Same with the BMW, it'll be like 1, 2, or 3. What level do you want? And that'll simplify things, But it's not. Sometimes you always look back and you go, we had it just right. We had it just right when the E46 was out. We had the best product, so we had a really simple lineup, and we only had a few models, and there was no configurators. It was like, there's your price list, and you just tick a box, and that's what you want.
Now, you mentioned the magic word EV, right?
Ooh.
And obviously, Joe, you were going to jump into electric before me, and I could tell you just your enthusiasm.
We've already talked about Tesla. I mean,
so can we have a bit of a chat about the future that you see in terms of car sales and your challenges, and I feel like your challenges as someone in the trade selling cars, and our challenges as people who would buy them, because I don't know what Joe's like, but certainly the last, I reckon 2 years, the base prices of cars that we're reviewing is going up and up and up. And you end up saying something like, this car's only £50,000. So I think there's this horrible perfect storm. Cars are going more and more pricey and more expensive, and then you've got the powertrain options are being forced, if you like. So the amount of new petrol engine cars that we go and review that are released to market is declining significantly, and the more and more battery electric and hybrid platforms. So what's your take on that as an expert?
I mean, firstly, I'm quite scared doing the job. Because I'm an old school analog petrol head. I like diesels. I'm a petrol head, and I struggle with the EV product. But that's my age and my generation. And I'm going to be at retirement point, not that long off. So for me, I'm kind of like, I think this is good because I'll be out of it. 2035, I'm not going to be selling cars. So from my perspective, I look at it and I just think, wow, what's scaring me at the moment is that the product isn't really where it needs to be. The infrastructure is nowhere where it needs to be. And the residual value of these cars seems to be plummeting. And the people that wanted one at the beginning have had one. And it's a bit like, you need to upgrade your car, but you're being told the value of your car is so low that you can't upgrade your car. And that's what we're seeing out there. And I'm not talking about BMW. I'm talking about the big, expensive Porsche products.
Yeah.
You know,
I think you interrupt when you see the Taycans.
Yeah.
When you see anything Porsche depreciate like a
that's almost the benchmark.
That's when you know. Yeah.
Everyone else has got to follow, basically. And that scares me because it's, I saw someone's post the other day and they said these are disposable cars. You know, you don't buy them to trade them in, you buy them and then you throw them away. And that's an expensive product to be throwing away.
That's good for the planet, though, isn't it?
It solves exactly the issue we've got. Yeah.
Bigger, heavier, disposable cobalt. We're saving the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Right, I'm going to have to balance Joe here, aren't I?
Yeah.
So there's me on the fence. There's Joe definitely not on the fence. And now you've got to come the other side of the fence.
So I am going to play devil's advocate a bit because I do try and balance everything, right? So if you take the car itself, I think EVs are getting better, range is getting better, reliability is getting better. And I think the products that we've got for sale now are good at what they do. Infrastructures could always be better, but I don't know what it's like where you are, but round my way, there's so many rapid charge stations being put in at petrol service stations. Our local Sainsbury's having a massive, great big electric forecourt put in. So you can see it going in. I think the challenge is that you have it correct. Lots of people bought them either. I mean, I don't know a single person with a Taycan that didn't buy it on that wasn't a company vehicle that bought it for the tax benefits and stuff. So you do that, and then you suddenly want to trade it back in, and the residuals have dropped, and that's a big challenge because that's maybe now putting people off, and I don't know what the fix is, but the cars themselves are actually, they do the thing that they need to do.
Yep.
The infrastructure can do the things that they need to do, and I've run a number of electric long-termers, and actually they do a great job. The problem is the values of them, the trade-in values, the view of at least half, maybe more of the car buying public don't like them yet. And that's the problem. And I don't know, I just can't see a fix.
Yeah, I mean, I confess my wife drives an i3.
Yeah.
And we've got a home charger.
Cool little car.
So yeah, I mean, I was sold on that car when it came out. I was lucky enough to go to Leipzig at the launch. So that would have been, 2012, 2011, 2013, sort of around that time. And was just blown away with this little product and the way it's made and just even now I could still remember like the Kenaf, the material that they used in the doors and on the dashboard.
Yeah.
In fact, it's product waste from Sri Lankan,
it was so ahead of its time. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and even now you drive it now, it's a lovely modern car.
Yeah.
It's just,
it looks like it was designed yesterday.
Yeah,
it works. So I'm not completely adverse, and that car does exactly what it needs. It'll do 150, 160 miles between charges. Great for my wife. She's pottering around in it. She does the odd run to Brighton and back. Job done.
She can't go and see her other husband up in Scotland.
No, she can't. No, we won't be going on touring on holiday in it. Yeah, but the issue I think we face is that the range. Every time the batteries and the range get better, it kind of alienates the people that bought the car a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's not like an LCI where you go, oh, it's got different headlights, I can live without that. It's actually, suddenly this car's got a better battery and that one hasn't, and that residual value is going to start to plummet. And what's next? You just don't know what's coming next. It's like the new iPhone, isn't it? Except an iPhone is really affordable, and actually a car is your second biggest purchase after your house. So you've got to get it right. The PCP is definitely the way. I just say to people, just get on PCP, because whatever happens to the market, at least you've got a guaranteed future value. So long as you've declared the correct mileage at the beginning, you can hand the car back at the end, even if the market's plummeted and it's not worth it. So that's the first thing. And most people do. I think everybody's bought their car on finance. But it's just, we're being forced down a road that people don't want to go down. The fact we've got this percentage of, whatever it is, 22, 23% this year and 29% next year, and it's going to keep going up every year, that we have to sell that ratio of EVs to petrol and diesel engines. That's forcing a market that isn't there yet.
Yeah.
And we're feeling the pressure. Dealers are feeling the pressures. The manufacturers feeling the pressures.
Yeah.
Everybody is. So it's kind of like, and it's all led by the government saying, there's your time limit.
Yeah.
The time limit shouldn't have been set, I don't think. I think we should just get there naturally.
It was a decision made by politicians that didn't really know what they were talking about.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
I've never heard that sentence before.
I know. But it was an easy, clean, no think it through number.
Yeah.
And, I've said it so many times. It needs to be more of a balance of, there's still a place for clean diesel. I'm in a little petrol Jeep this week, 1.2 litre petrol engine. It's averaging 48 miles to the gallon.
Wow.
It's a brilliant little thing.
Well, talking of MPG,
26 grand.
There's someone in this room
Oh,
that can
I know.
absolutely blow us away. Patrick, the MPG king. Patrick's also bought himself a very nice new car. Patrick, for those of you who don't know Pat too well, he's always owned interesting cars that don't tend to work that well.
Sheds.
I wouldn't call them sheds. No, that's discrediting them. I think the Renault was a bit of a shed, but he's had some pretty cool, classy cars because Patrick is pretty stylish. Yeah. Definitely more stylish than us. Yeah. But he's bought himself a very, very sensible Repmobile, a Passat. What was it? 2016? 2018.
1.6 litre diesel.
Yep.
SE Business Blue Motion.
Oh. 1.6 TDI, SE Business, in other words, basic, Blue Motion. But he got here today and he said he struggles to do less than 65 miles to the gallon. I mean, that's just, you're talking about...
And it was 8 grand.
Yeah. £8,000. So it's just crazy. I mean, that's, and you think you're going to pay nearly 10 times that for a Volkswagen electric equivalent today, like an ID5 or I don't know what it would be called, but...
See, in the motor trade, that's called Doom Blue.
Doom Blue.
But it has got a B-day.
What's a B-day?
Rear wash wipe.
Oh,
very...
That's for you guys from the 90s in the motor trade.
Yeah. He needs some decks in front of him. That's like DJ Tony on the decks.
But no, I mean, it's an interest. I just want to go just quickly back to what Tony was saying there about the 22%. That's what it is this year, right, Tony?
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know...
Deep dive into that,
Yeah, because it is quite interesting because I'll sit there and go, oh, why, like the new 5 Series, for instance, why have BMW only done this? Why are they're offering us 2 electric, 1 petrol, and then 2 hybrids?
So how good would the 530D drive be?
I mean, 530D. And I can't defend BMW on that one because I think they've missed the trick not offering the 530D. But what I can say is the reason that BMW, for instance, or all manufacturers are having to strip back all of these wonderful petrol and diesel engines is because they have to sell 22% of the lineup has to be electric, right?
And bring your overall CO2 down. So some of these cars have got a very, the big engines like the M340D had a high CO2.
Yeah.
So we're losing the 40D engine from June, which is a shame in the X3 and the 3 Series. And that's a good selling car for me, and a car that I genuinely would buy and keep forever and may end up doing in June. So that'll be on the next time we chat. But yeah, that is really, I think that's the issue. And
then that percentage changes, doesn't it, as we head towards 2030, 35.
But the bigger problem, I think, is that the government setting it. Yes, they don't know what the experience. They don't understand how the motor trade works in that sense. But they're also missing a point that we plan as a product probably 15, 16 years ahead, because we got a 7-year life cycle as a rule. So we're actually always looking around 14 years ahead, and we're planning that. So if you go 2030 is the cutoff, then of course that's what BMW Germany were working to for the UK market. Suddenly it's 2035. Well, what do they do now? And that's why the manufacturers have had to spend so much money running 2 product lines. So some manufacturers we're going all in with EV, from 2025, and that's what we'll build. But actually, other manufacturers have actually kept 2 production lines running, and they've done that deliberately because they've got the electric line and the ICE line, knowing that actually the electric line may not work. And we still need these people to build these cars. So the cost of that is just double.
I can't imagine what it cost. Yeah. I mean,
and that's why prices are going where they're going. Everything, your raw materials have gone up. All the wars in the world have caused everything. We've lost Ukraine as a market. The amount of stuff that came out of Ukraine into German manufacturing products.
I was thinking yesterday about the cost of paint has gone up 20% in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you just won't know that, would you?
I mean, how did you know? How do we all know how many wiring looms were made in Ukraine?
Yeah.
I don't know whether that was. I wonder whether some of the manufacturers went, "Damn, we've got some delays." I know. We'll just say we get our wiring looms from Ukraine and use that as an excuse. But big issues. I know. Chip shortages and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Indeed.
it's going to be an interesting few years. But yeah, like you said, you can only feel sorry for most of the manufacturers, especially the big German ones, I think. Earlier on, I got sent an R8, not an R8, an
e-tron
RS
GT.
e-tron GT, black edition, and it had dealer contribution, which is another word for...
Discount.
You can't say it. Another
Discount.
word, discount, yeah. 40, what was it? 48.5 grand discount on a 115 grand car. So we're talking about, what's that, 40% discount, advertised discount. And I saw there's a dealership.
Was that at a main dealer?
Yeah, that was through a group. That was through a group in Shape, I think, or someone. But there was a dealer up in Aberdeen Audi. There was a salesman there advertising on Instagram. I got sent the post saying, "This is we got RS e-tron GTs in stock, and we were offering 23 grand. We lifted that to 33. We're now offering 50 grand." And it's like, oh my goodness! If you're advertising that, I bet if you walked in there, you could probably get another 5 off. But that's again.
I have to say though, at that price, that's a car.
Yeah, but but it also says that's what that car's worth. It's not worth, as good as it is, it's not worth 115, 120 grand. It is worth 55 or 60 grand. Really, that's what it's worth. With a 200-mile range, doesn't matter how nice and beautifully made it is. With that pain of the small range and that e-tron GT, it's never worth that kind of money. But then you got to feel for the person that 6 months ago paid full whack as a private buyer for one of those. I mean, it's worth about 17 pence. But anyway, yeah, it's an interesting landscape at the moment.
And that is assuming so there's a lot of Chinese EV manufacturers. And,
Yeah.
you know, the rumours are that those guys could probably half the price of their cars and still be making money. And they're not doing that at the moment. But if they did, that would be
The end.
it'd be a
It'd be a
big
challenge.
problem for everybody.
The thing I find is that when you've got like a lovely German iced engine car, it has a feel about it and a drive about it and a quality about it.
Yeah.
And I tend to find with the EVs, they feel the same. You get into an EV and it's like, well, it's an electric motor. It's not about the engine anymore.
Yeah.
And the qualities are all pretty much the same because no one makes a bad car really. So actually, when you look at the Chinese stuff and it's like half the price, and you just think that surely is where the market's going to go, you know, and they need to open their eyes to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there is a cost of manufacture that's particularly high in EVs. I would think that always thought they'd be cheaper because they've not got so many moving parts. But the batteries themselves are very expensive.
I think
Obviously,
it's 40% of the cost of the vehicle, isn't it, on average?
So yeah, no, it'll be an interesting one.
You saw, I can't believe I'm bringing this up, but you saw an MG Cyberster
Yes.
the other day, Ped. I can see that's a future Pedmobile, that is.
Well, I mean, so a couple of things. One, when it was at the Goodwood Media Day this week, and from a distance it looked like an F-Type. It's like so much, especially from the front. But the thing that so MG were announced this week as the central feature for Festival of Speed, which I think is going to go down all right with some people, but really badly with others. I can imagine there's quite a sort of polarized view of that. And this Cyberster was the 100th anniversary edition.
Wow.
Because MG's been around 100 years this year.
Well, they've only been around about 2, haven't they?
Well, the interesting thing for me is they haven't, as the modern incarnation of MG, haven't really played on the old historic bit of MG up until now, really. Yep. But yeah, Pat and I were talking before because we arrived here first today. It's not unusual, really, that Joe's last. But we were saying, MG were kind of. What's that? Is that an MG Maestro? Come on,
it's a Montego.
Sorry, yeah. You had an MG Montego Turbo.
Yeah, I saved these pictures the other day from the Instagram.
Oh.
This car came up and I was just all dreamy-eyed.
We'll have to go through your car history.
But that was the same thing because when they came out, bearing in mind, I'm a little bit older than you chaps.
How old are you?
57.
Oh, you are, yeah.
So when these came out, all the old school were up and it's not a bloody MG. You can't put that
exactly.
back on there.
I was just about to say exactly the same
It's
thing.
an Austin.
So, you had your really early MGs in the war that were really cool. Then kind of MGB GTs and that kind of thing, and that's almost for us where it stops. Then you had the MG Maestro and Montego turbos, and then
the MG Metro.
MG Metro. Oh my goodness,
6R4.
Well, the 6R4 was
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then the MGF, it kind of went down a little bit there, didn't it? They were great cars.
Yeah.
And then they did that horrible thing with the Rover. I can't remember what the MG
V8
Z and MG ZT.
Oh no,
and
those. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, that V8 one was quite cool.
Yeah. That was
in the green.
Yeah. So they're all cool, and then so kind of MG has gone up and down and up and down quite a lot, and now it's come back as an EV platform.
Yeah.
And I think the early MGs, I've had one as a long term, they actually drive all right, and they're not as a gateway drug into EV for like low 20s new car. I think they're an amazing bit of kit. I think the Cyberster's going back up again because I do think it looks quite cool.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, no,
It's like
did you sit in it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No, and it wasn't drivable. Although a few people took some pictures of it, but I can't wait to drive it. It looks like it's the first as an EV platform, apart from Tesla Roadster, which was right in the early days, which was basically a Lotus as least with a battery pack and a motor in it.
Yeah.
It's a cool form factor. It's nice to see an EV that's not a big SUV.
Yeah. Well, actually, something we haven't talked about quickly is what you also went out to. Was it Paris?
The new Renault 5.
We haven't talked about that, have we? I've talked to you about it on
the
the
new
phone.
Renault 5.
Yeah.
I should have been on that.
Yeah.
I get annoyed when people go on these trips because I feel I am the ambassador for Renault.
How many Renaults have you had?
I've lost count. It's over 30.
You've had loads of Clios and stuff, and
at least half of my car buying career has been Renaults.
So you've had Renault, Clio, Williams.
Oh no, goes back further than that.
Are we going to
Let's go.
Let's come on, Tony. Have you got your list?
Should he do the story first?
I'll do the Renault 5 and then we'll find out exactly
yeah.
why. So I did reference Renault. So I guess I went out to the Renault factory and or the Renault design department that were responsible for the new Renault 5. And for me, that car, you're talking about all EVs are kind of very similar, especially Stellantis cars. They've all got the same gear change. They all drive the same. So the thing I like about the Renault 5 is, and the story goes, the design team were not bored, but they decided they'd just kick some ideas around if they gave rebirth to the old Renault 5, and they made this concept clay model, an orange one that they had in the side of the office for ages. And then a new guy came in at Renault at the top, and he walked into the office. He went, "What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, we kind of just did a playing around concept of the Renault 5. You won't make that.
Wow.
Just make that." And then they bought the concept out about 2 years ago.
Yep.
And then they've literally made the concept car. You see, I saw the concept car and the production car parked next to each other, and they are the same. I don't know how they've done it. I don't know how they've managed to get around all the regulations and stuff. Outside looks really cool. On my video, I've even had people saying, "Do you know what? I'm a real petrol head. I hate EVs. That's the first EV I'd buy."
I've seen them on your comments. And your Instagram.
and they are going to be priced from 22 grand.
But is that actually going to happen?
That's that.
I mean, that'd be
you can only go on
amazing.
what Renault say, but from 25,000 euros.
Wow.
So what's that? £22,000.
Yeah.
I don't know what it'll be if you chuck some spec at it, because they've got some nice options and things. But the interior is really different, and just they've got some really weird options, like a wicker baguette holder.
Yeah, I saw that.
That you can opt.
Brilliant.
But it's
onion ring holder.
Yeah. But what I like about it is they had a whole bunch of their heritage cars. They had an early 72 car, because it's the same age as me. The Renault 5 came out in 1972.
Wow.
They had a Gordini Turbo. They had a GT Turbo, and you can see the design coming through all the way into the very latest one. So come on then, Tony, because I love my Renaults. I've never owned one. I nearly owned a Renault 5 GT Turbo once, but it scared me. So you've had quite a few then.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a great car history anyway. I mean, if you're coming tonight to the live, we're going to go through Tony's car history.
I better give you a potted version of it now then, because we're going to run out of time in a minute. So yeah, I from the early days when I had a bit of money, I had the Ford Orion. After the Orion, which was brand new, I one day went through Wimbledon, and there's a place called Radbourne Racing. And they actually did all the racing cars for the racing series for Renault, but they had a showroom. And in the showroom was a great big fat pearl white Renault 5 Turbo 2 mid-engine. Oh. Left-hand drive. I just saw this thing and I was like, oh, it was like £17,000 in 1990. So I just went in, signed up, drove it away. They had a red one next to it. They had two actually. Yeah, they had the white one was £2,000 cheaper than the red one, and they said the red one's the better car, so I bought the white one, and it broke down. on the way home.
Oh,
But it wasn't really a breakdown. It was the kingpin lead. The cable was too short, and as you accelerated, the engine would twist in the back, and the cable would come off. So the distributor then just packed up, and there was no spark, and it was gone. So you just had to get a new cable and plug it in. They've got all sorts
It's a fairly major issue.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a bit embarrassing,
Yeah.
and you can't move this anyway. So Renault 5 Turbo 2, and then I realised actually probably not a sensible car to drive every day, as they told me, because the thing clogs up and it's just gets hot. You know, the thing, your back's roasting. You got the petrol tank behind you, which I forgot to mention. The petrol tank was behind the seats, behind the sort of velour fabric to the guy that was installing the amplifiers for the sound system that was missing, and he drilled straight through the petrol tank.
oh no.
Bit of a faux pas, but yeah, I had that, and then it's like, oh, I really like this Renault, and then I was like, oh, they got this new thing called a Renault 21 Turbo, and I can't quite afford. I couldn't afford a Sierra RS Cosworth, and the insurance back then was through the roof for those. It was like 10 grand. Renault 21 Turbo, the French Cosworth. So I got one of those, and I was driving around in this thing, and it was great. Oh, well, Renault 5 GT Turbo. Yeah, should get one. And then it was like Renault 5 GT Turbo. And it just went on. And then all the Clios came out, and it was Clio Williams. I got a Clio Williams 3, which peed off everyone that bought a 1 and a 2, because it was never meant to be a 2 or a 3. Had that.
Are they? I've never driven one. Are they as good as everyone says? Because they looked awesome.
Yeah,
but
they weren't that different to driving like a 172 Trophy or 172 Clio or a 182 Trophy. They all felt very, very similar. So
Yeah.
they're very heavy clutches, but actually the steering was just brilliant. And they had
they
no
had
torque
great
steering.
alloys, didn't they?
Yeah, lovely. Yeah.
Gold.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh,
So I
yeah,
did all that,
sorry.
then we went through all the Clio, then all the new Clios came out, and all the Megans came out, and all the special editions came out. I think I had 3 R26Rs over the course of about 10 years.
3.
Yeah, I bought.
So Tony.
I bought the
I don't
first.
need one. I'm gonna have 3.
No, I didn't buy them all at the same time. I just kept selling it and then regretting it. So I bought a brand new one in Laguna. What was it? Oh, the Laguna Grey or whatever it's called. It's like a battleship grey. Last one left brand new. Bought that from up in Aberdeen. Drove the car back to London. Couldn't get on with the fact I was wearing a suit, and you've got these big harnesses, and it's like a pain. The seats are worse than the M3 bucket seats, so you can't get in and out this thing. So I was like, oh, get rid of it. 3 months later, wish I hadn't got rid of it. Get another one. So yeah, let's go through it. Keep going through the motions. All the different Clios come out. Had all of those. The Megans. So then the new Megans came out, and I went through the next ones. And yeah, I had them all. I've had both Trophy Rs, the original 275 Trophy R, and then the 300 Trophy R, from my good friends at K-Tech.
Not the one with the carbon wheels.
No, I did. My one didn't have carbon wheels,
Yeah.
thankfully. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I wouldn't have done that. I'm not carbon wheels. I just don't get.
I met a guy did a meet and greet at the trucks, and he had one, but he just drove around with the carbon wheels in the car all the time because he was too worried about using them. Guess he got
Exactly,
dinked.
yeah. Mine was without. So mine was only 52 grand rather than 70 grand. So yeah, but yeah. So I
I
went
love
through
the
all-
way you chose
just-
only 52 in front of the Renault Megane.
Yeah. And then back in the day, going back to before all that, back in 89, 90, so where are we now? So we've gone on to 92, 93. There was things like Lancia Integrales for 7,995, or you could have a left-hand drive E30 M3 for 7,995, because there was a guy importing them from Germany and Italy, selling them down in Tonbridge. So I went down there and had an Integrale.
Wait,
7,995, yeah.
£8,000.
Yeah, that would have been
New?
92, 90. No, not new. So
Oh.
this would have been around about. So where was I? I was at Vauxhall. So that was 94, 95.
Okay.
And these were like 88 E-Reg. So it's a 16 valve. So it wasn't
7, 8 years old.
not an Evolution. It was
Yeah.
like a 1988 E-plate, which 16 valve. But the 16 valve was one to have because that was
Yeah.
predominantly rear-wheel drive and had the big
They're like
180 brake.
60, 70, 80 grand now.
Oh yeah, for a good one, yeah. So it did that. The only one that escaped me, and I didn't tell you this on the last one because I forgot. I drove away afterwards. I didn't mention that. My whole full circle thing. Going back to 1988, 89, when I had the Orion, I went and put £500 deposit down at BMW Croydon, L&C as it was, for a left-hand drive M3 E30 factory order at £23,000 list price.
Wow.
In red, Cinnabar red. Anyway, the 6 months it took to build it, come December they ring me, and I didn't have the money to buy it. I thought I was going to get a bit of money at Christmas, and it all went a little bit south. And then he was like, "Oh, it's here. You need to put down your 10 grand deposit." Yeah, I haven't got that. What do you mean you haven't got it? We've ordered your car. Yeah, I haven't got it. Keep my deposit. Put the phone down. I get phone calls like 3 or 4 times a day. You've got to take this car. It's left-hand drive. What are we supposed to do with it? Because apparently back then they didn't really order them for the UK market that often. There was only a few of them. Anyway, that's my sort of thing about BMW is like I started at Croydon, you know, and I went to BMW Croydon and bought this car, but actually I didn't really buy it. I just had an order form, and I kept that order form for about 20 years. Just to say, nearly had an M3, you know.
You kind of owned one.
Yeah. Anyway, and then full circle, I'm back now. My boss bought the Croydon BMW showroom three years ago, and I live fairly close by, so that's why I'm now based at Croydon. And it is my home. It feels like, you know, my second home, and I've gone back in there, and it's not like work. You know, my whole job's never been like work, to be honest, but it is because I love it. So from my point of view, that's what the story I sort of think about is like I went to go and buy an M3 when I was like 21 years of age, and now sitting here 57 selling BMWs.
Selling M3s.
In the same showroom. Yeah, driving M3s.
Wow.
But yeah, that's a potted history of the car stuff. But there's been loads of stuff. I sent you a list, didn't I? And there was stuff I kept forgetting, like Opel Manta GTEs, like Astra 16-valve GTEs.
Yeah.
But they're all the, like, because we're similar age, they're all the kind of cars I absolutely lusted after.
How many Alpines have you had?
I'm on my 3rd A110 at the moment. But yeah,
that's, you know, when you said earlier on, you're like, the R26R. Oh, yeah, I bought it. And then I thought, oh, don't want it.
Yeah.
And then, oh, well, it's exactly what you've done with the Alpine. Every time you bought one, when you bought the first one, you're like, it's the best thing in the whole world. And I drove it, and I was like, it's amazing. And then you sold it. I was like, why have you sold it?
Bored.
You're like, yeah, you're bored. And then literally 2 weeks later, Joe, I bought another one because I miss it. You've got a real, like, your attention span with cars are like...
I think I've got ADHD with cars.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Or I am like a lot of my customers, the passion is in buying a car. Yeah. I love the chase. Do you know the chase where
I've got a mate just like that.
And then when you bought it, you go, oh, I've got it now. What can I buy next? And you've kind of already moved on before you've even appreciated the car. I will defend my 110 purchases, though. The first one, I went really tight on spec because of the cost of it. So it was white and it didn't have a lot on it. My second one was my Clio Williams Homage in the dark blue with the gold wheels.
That was so nice.
It was the one I wanted. And then as time went on, I realised actually I do a lot of track days. Well, don't do a lot of track days. Who am I kidding? I wished I did a lot of track days, and I thought I need the S for track days because I'm really going to drive this car more on track than on the road. So I bought the 110S more recently.
How many times has that been on track?
Once. Hang on, it gets worse. Once for one lap before I get flamed by the straight 6 track day crew. We went to Anglesey for a 3-day drive around Wales, and it was lovely weather. And me and my mate Simon in his Focus RS were sort of following each other up through Wales. We had the best time, and then we get to Anglesey and it just rains. Guess who decided to order their 110S with Cup 2 tyres on? When I say rain, it was biblical.
Yeah.
It was. I went out and I was doing 30 round a corner. Of course, the car weighs nothing, so you've got no weight pushing down on these tyres. And I just turned the steering wheel and was going straight on. And I was like, this isn't fun. I'm not going to enjoy this because I really like to push the car quite hard in the dry and let the tyres do all the work and feel it on its axis, literally on its edge.
Yeah.
I've got no talent. I've got my feet just are on or off.
Yeah.
So in the wet, I'm just Mr. Useless.
But you can't come on this podcast and criticise Cup 2s.
I'm not criticising Cup 2s. I'm saying I've got no talent when it's raining.
To be fair, unless it's dry and above about 12 degrees, then they're not the type for you. I
honestly, I was bricking it. Yeah. I just came back in. I did one lap, but came back in. I said to the others, yep, not for me. And I went back to the hotel and had a sleep. I came back when the sun came out at 5 o'clock. By then it was all over. Anyway, yeah, that's my history in a nutshell. In a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, if you were here tonight, you'd get more of the history and you'd get more of this. I'm really looking forward to tonight.
We're going to take questions as well, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the main thing is just getting you lot involved with it. And it's great for us in a way. It should be good for us. There might be some real surprise questions in there where we're like, can't answer that. But Tony, you've been awesome. In fact, before we disappear, I just wanted to just show you some books. Unfortunately, I haven't got them for you, so don't get too excited, Tony. But I just wanted to show you them from a good friend of mine, Steve Saxty, who's an incredible automotive journalist.
While you're talking, I'll pick them up.
Steve, I love you. Steve, your books are amazing. I really love you, Steve.
Yes.
These books are amazing.
Yes. Steve, and Tony, some BMW Croydon. So, yeah, he's... I I mean, he's written some iconic Ford books that I've actually got one of at home. That's going to take me ages.
Even I'm aware of those books. So,
but this is
they are infamous in our enthusiast circles, aren't they? Because
this is where Joe wishes
they're
he'd
next
actually
level.
taken the plastic off before the podcast started.
I wasn't actually going to open it, but
For those of you listening on an audio podcast platform, after you've written a review, make sure you tune into YouTube and watch Joe trying to open a box.
well, see, I've got a puppy at home. She does the unwrapping of
Yeah, I
boxes
bet.
and
Yeah, yeah,
deliveries. But yeah, BMW behind the scenes. This is a 3-book set. 3-book box set. There we go. And honestly, I'm not just saying it because I know Steve. I'm not just saying it because my name gets a mention. I'm saying it because these are absolutely beautiful books. I mean, just look at the cover and the material.
Yeah.
Look at that for a cover.
Ooh.
So anyone that's into BMWs, do check them out because they are beautiful books. I haven't actually looked at the other two yet. I will do.
I might have to start a GoFundMe page.
GoFundMe, yeah. But yeah, check them out. Steve Saxty, big shout out if you're listening, mate. And yeah, huge thanks to Tony Lewis and Berry BMW for hosting us today and this evening.
Oh, I forgot my other cars. Alfa Romeo SZ.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what?
ES30 Zagato. £17,000.
Oh,
Sold for 15,000.
oh, that's a
Yeah.
And what's it worth today? 150?
No, 70, 80.
70. Okay.
Yeah, not that much. Ford RS Cosworth 3-door. Moonstone Blue.
You haven't even talked about your BMs. I mean, we talked a bit about the ones you've got today. But
Yeah.
hold it for this evening. Boys.
Yeah, let's keep it all.
Yeah.
I'm having little flashbacks.
We've got to build it so
hot.
that the guys watching at home are thinking, damn, I should be there this evening.
Yes.
Hey, before you go, make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you haven't done so already. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, write us a review, give us a follow. It really, really helps.
And Tony Lewis, TRL Deals on Instagram. Go and check him out and have a look at all his happy customers and the cool cars that he sells.
New cars. I go stress that I do get a lot of requests for used cars, and I can't locate used cars for people. I just don't have the time. And if I'm honest, I've got a little bit of OCD, and used cars kind of set me off. So with new cars, they're just brand new and lovely. And
I was going to ask you if I used electric.
No.
That would have been.
well, there's plenty on the market. Don't need me for that. Thank you, guys. It's been fun.
It's been great having you on, mate.
Yeah, thanks for your time again. Guys, we'll see you at another podcast in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Or, a cut-down version in a week. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.
See you later.
Bye, guys.